Americans equal partners in a great America. Instead of turning this political godsend and this opportunity for historic healing into buzzsaw momentum in the election, it seemed to us that Trump proceeded to make the same mistakes he had been making for the past 3 years, while his followers, whom this book is mainly about, kept cheering him on. So the White House's handling of the pandemic and the Black Lives Matter protest did not lead us to reframe our analysis of America's situation. Rather, it stamped an exclamation point on almost every one of our conclusions. But can the world possibly need yet another book about Donald Trump? If you Google books about Trump, the answer seems obvious. You've got to be kidding. But while there are many books about the man and his presidency, favorable and not so favorable, we could find no book that explains why he acts the way he does. Nor are there any books that explain his base, the source of his power. In fact, many observers have thrown up their hands in despair at Trump's very steadfast supporters. They seem beyond the pale, beyond understanding. Well, give us a chance, for we believe we have solid science-based answers. First things first. Many people have opined there is something seriously wrong psychologically with Donald Trump. If you proudly wear a Make America Great Again hat, you might be offended by the suggestion. For you, as for him, Trump should be immortalized on his own Mount Rushmore, maybe renamed Mount Trump, as America's greatest president. But if you have passed on a $25 official MAGA hat while observing Donald Trump for any time at all, you may believe the man is deeply troubled mentally. Psychiatrists and clinical psychologists have been riveted by his behavior from the outset of his presidential bid. They wondered during the campaign, is this an act just to get elected? But by the time he moved into the White House, many concluded Trump was not crazy like a fox, but crazy like a crazy. This point was made by one of the mental health professionals who wrote the best-selling book, The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump, edited by Dr. Bandy Lee of the Yale School of Medicine. The conclusions of these analysts and therapists varied quite a bit, understandably, since clinical diagnosis remains something of an art. But more than anything, these psychiatrists and psychologists believed that Trump displayed extreme narcissism with more than just a touch of psychopathy. He is, as one therapist put it, in a phrase reflecting years of professional training, a dog with both ticks and fleas. These professionals have company. Many sophisticated Washington pundits and presidential observers have deep concerns about Trump. Republican leaders and other influential conservatives who hoped he would grow into the job have often been disappointed. Trump's interactions with his cabinet and senior advisers led some of them to expose the man, warts, and even more warts, to journalists such as Bob Woodward, who compiled them in his bestseller, Fear, Trump in the White House. One senior official, anonymous, reported strikingly similar information in an op-ed in the New York Times on September 5, 2018. And later a book revealing that a group of alarmed officials had quietly banded together to keep some of Trump's decisions from being enacted. Other aides competing with one another for the president's favor leaked damaging information about their opponents in Trump's inner circle, which implicitly dissed Trump for hiring their opponents. The Trump White House leaks more than Nixon's did when he formed the infamous plumbers unit to shut off the flow. It appears everybody is trying to get even. John Bolton's book, The Room Where It Happened, revealed just how dysfunctional the White House had become by 2018 and what a terrible manager and decision-maker Trump was. The combination of brutal personal portrayals and the daily drips of West Wing scuttlebutt reported regularly from the White House lawn on the 6 o'clock news give one pause about the person who lives at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Donald Trump, the most powerful person on the planet, apparently does not have as much influence as he wants, often exploding in anger in the West Wing, not to mention ranting publicly on social media when he does not get his way.